Hello to Rachael Sage. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Let me chat to you again today. Can you tell me roughly, how long have you been a singer-songwriter for?
I've been doing this since I was a little kid. I wrote my first songs without lyrics when I was 3 or 4. And then by the time I was 5 or 6, I had full-blown pop songs I was writing, very much inspired by my parents' record collections, as well as what I was hearing on the radio and the Beatles and Buddy Holly. So it's been a lengthy and exciting adventure.
What was it like going into the recording studio when you first released your debut album called Morbid Romantic?
Romantic, yes. And I really was a morbid romantic back then. I had a little bit more of a goth sensibility, wore a lot of black, was very kind of dark emotionally. And, as is often the case after we hit our teens and into our 20s in college and the like, a lot of navel gazing, a lot of soul searching, and exploration, if you will. So for me, it was just revelatory to be able to finally share all of this kind of pent up artistic expression, and to work with other musicians and to just be able to express myself, so freely, finally, and actually anticipate that I would get to perform these songs live. So, I haven't looked back since. It really was like coming home, finding where I fit.
So, did any of the tracks stand out for you on your first debut album?
Can you say that again? Have any of the what? Sorry.
Is any tracks stand out for you that released on your debut album?
Sure. Well, in addition to the title track, which I'm quite fond of, because it has some imagery about, losing a penny in the backseat of a New York City cab. That's one of the metaphors. And I love that image because it was very true. Another song I enjoy off my debut album is The Spirit We. And I think it sort of foreshadowed a lot of the content of my subsequent albums in terms of wanting to focus on themes of female empowerment and anti-racism and a coming together of, people who disagree, but in a way that enables everybody to get along, understand, if not love one another. It kind of was a precursor to me being openly sophista hippie, if you will.
I see that you got some paintings behind you there.
I do, yes.
How long have you been an artist for?
Well, I have an inability to leave most blank surfaces blank. So I'm showing you one of my decoupage guitars. If you give me a Sharpie in 5 minutes and anything that's undecorated, look out. So I think I've been like this most of my life. Sometimes it got me into trouble in school. I'd be the one just doodling with a thin black pen all over my homework, or at least on the back of my homework. And thankfully, somewhere along the way, my mom specifically really encouraged me, to kind of turn what was a bit of a hobby into something a bit more serious. And it's been nice to have had a believer in a family member all these years saying, honey, I think the artwork is becoming a little more interesting, or like, I really like what you're doing in this direction, maybe a little more of this or that. So, without being too, I don't know what the word would be, too disciplined about it, I did always feel like I had some family encouragement to be expressive and artistic.
So, continue on about more about your album is called Painting of a Painting.
Oh, painting of a painting. Wow, you're throwing me back, my friend. Boy, I don't even know when that came out. It must have been the early 2000s, but um, that record, I haven't thought about it in a long time. The title track certainly makes a meal of the idea of someone just being so captured in your mind's eye, in your memory, when you have an experience with them that you're always able to recall it. And it just brings you back to the heart of that relationship. And I recorded that song actually with a wonderful producer and drummer who has toured with everyone from Tracy Chapman to Hart and just, a whole bunch of other artists. His name is Denny Fongheiser. So that was a great experience. In California, we made that record.
Come up to a Christmas season now. So can you tell me more
Yeah.
about Joy? Single that is called
Oh,
Joy.
sure. Joy was the one and only holiday EP that I made a few years back. And all of a sudden, I just kind of realized I had a handful of holiday themed songs, and it would be fun to record them as one does in the summertime so that it would be ready for the holiday season. So that was a really fun project. I included a cover of Joy to the World that I will be brushing the dust off and playing on this tour with the Overtones. And then also a couple of Hanukkah ditties in addition to a Yiddish song that is a love song and just seemed to fit the mood. So, kind of eclectic, but my eccentric version of holiday fare.
So this album called the Other Side. So can you tell me more about that?
Sure. So the other side is my last full album with, electric arrangements. As you know, another side came out subsequently as the acoustic version. But the other side, I would say, is maybe one of my most pop rock kind of records. There are a lot of earworms, if you will, a lot of hooky hooks. But the heart of it is about transcending obstacles, overcoming things, and getting to the other side of things that are holding you back. And that was a theme, of course, that everybody, became all too familiar with during lockdown and the pandemic. So some of those songs were written during that time.
It must have been quite hard being a singer songwriter during pandemic times for you.
It wasn't the most fun, but I tried to do my best to always stay hopeful and forward looking. And seeing as I had just gotten through a cancer experience myself just before lockdown, and I just recovered from that, I think in some ways I was especially well armed to endure, the kind of highs and lows and confusion and extra stress of what was going on in the world during that time. And I've spoken to other people who also had endured serious or life-threatening illnesses, and that they've told me the same thing, that in some odd ways it felt like the whole world, or certainly large communities, were going through similar types of self-reflection and also, sort of boundary setting and just figuring out what they wanted to keep and let go of in their lives during that crazy time. And a lot of that is very similar to what happens when you go through something like cancer. So I know it seems like a very strange analogy, but when illness is a threat, you do kind of distill what's important to you. And so that was a kind of a positive silver lining to it, I think.
So can you tell me more about Rachael Sage and the Sequins? So can you tell me more about the Sequins?
Yes, so they are my wonderful band. And of course, there's a wide array of them who appear on this album. And this is our first album under that moniker, Rachael Sage and the Sequins. So it's really my, just my nod to the band that has long supported me live and in the studio, but with an extra kind of zhuzh, if you will, to give them their flowers and also to highlight their individual sensibilities as musicians, as performers, and certainly, creatively, every player on this record is so gifted and also a dear friend of mine. So all of that kind of goes into the process and this soup of celebrating the Sequins.
So can you tell me more about the single that is called Canopy?
Yes, this is a perfect note to end on, I think, because I'm going to have to leave in just a couple of minutes. But this is the title track from my album, and it's all about inclusivity and safety and shelter and that willingness that I'm trying to encourage through the song for us to actually listen to one another, not always need to speak or to be right, to be less judgmental, more accepting, and certainly to allow for more and diverse voices to be heard in the room.
So, can you tell me more about the upcoming tour with the Overtones? You know, come out over to UK very soon. So, can you tell me about
Yes,
that?
in mere days, I think our first show in the UK is November 17th in Swindon, and it just continues through the end of the month and into early December. We end up, I don't know how to pronounce it actually. Is it Frome? Frome? But yeah, all of these shows are on my website, and we're really excited to bring this very festive, holidays friendly, and upbeat show on tour with the Overtones to a city near you.
So, finally, can you tell me, listeners, where can I find Rachael Sage social media?
Oh, well, I try to be very accessible, and you can learn more about my music, upcoming shows with me and my band, the Sequins, at rachelsage.com. And of course, we're on Instagram and Facebook, Blue Sky, all the things. Please say hi.
Thank you. Let me chat to you again today.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, cheers. Take care.
Goodbye.